Oh, hello. A question that came in during the writing AMA was, what kind of rhetoric do I like to use the most or the least, right? And if I'm being very honest, there is not a personal favorite, so to speak, but I do tend to use the expository rhetoric the most and the narrative rhetoric the least, right? So for those of you who don't know what those words mean, essentially writing could take either one of four rhetorical styles. You could either write using the expository writing style, which is nothing but a subject oriented writing style, which basically uses facts, figures, but no opinions to explain a topic. And that is essentially why expository writing style is my favorite style, because I think opinions have a time and a place, but opinions also tend to, as we are seeing these days, make things a bit unpleasant, and not a fan of that. So that is one of the reasons why the expository writing style is my favorite, preferred, and most used writing rhetoric. If you look at my geopolitical pieces, if you look at my pieces about blockchain, stuff like that, I like my facts, I like my stats, and the maximum opinion you are going to see from my side is probably a vocabulary cue, right? So instead of saying in a calculated move, this person did this thing, if I feel that what this person did was bad, I will not mention it anywhere, but I'll sneak the word Machiavellian in somewhere, right? So in a Machiavellian move, this person did this thing. So the implication of my opinion is there, but the actual opinion is not, right? So yeah, I prefer using the expository writing style for the absence of biases and opinions and the presence of facts, figures, stats, and quotes from qualified experts of any industry, right? So that is the expository writing style. Or expository writing rhetoric. The second is descriptive. I also tend to use the descriptive rhetoric as well, right? So I use expository. I'm going in a descending order. What I use the most to what I use the least, right? So what I use the most is expository. The next one is descriptive. So the descriptive rhetoric or the descriptive writing style is about descriptions, right? It is about describing everything, a character, a location, an event in detail, in as much detail as you possibly can. This is where adjectives and colorful adjectives come into play, right? You can be as creative with words as you want to over here, right? So that's why I love descriptive writing style, because you can let your vocabulary shine. Bit of a tangent. I'll go on a bit of a tangent. People often like to mention how keeping it simple is the best, etc. It is best for writing, for content writing, not for writing. For writing, being original, being honest with what you're trying to say, is being unique with what you're trying to say is what matters above everything else, right? So if you want to be unique without opinions, because opinions is what truly makes you unique. If you want to be unique without opinions, descriptive writing rhetoric is what comes to your rescue, right? Instead of saying the door opened, you can go the massive mahogany doors thudded open as she whooshed past them. It's the same thing. The door opened, she opened it. Saying the same thing, but in the former you are just stating it. In the latter you are describing it, right? And using words like mahogany door implies that some form of richness is involved. Someone whooshing past a door implies they are in a hurry. So if you do it all places, you're going to set up the scene descriptively. So that is descriptive writing rhetoric. Then you have the persuasive writing rhetoric and or the persuasive writing style, and this is where the writing tries to persuade you, essentially like propaganda. It is trying to persuade you, it is trying to convince you via the opinions and the biases. Like, let's be honest, right? It's along with opinions, it is mostly biases of the author of the article or the writer of the book or the piece or whatever it is that you're reading, right? And I try to avoid it, but you have to, if say for instance, you are giving your opinion on any sort of a conflict that has occurred. Opinion is what truly, as I said, makes a piece unique. And if you want clicks, if your motto is clicks, you have to use polarization as a content driver. Polarization as a content driver is essentially when you say something polarizing. So say for instance, I lean center left, right? This is my bias. On the political spectrum, I'm on the center left. So say for instance, I say something very leftist and I publish my article. So obviously people from the right are going to disagree with almost everything that I said, and people from the left will want to agree with almost everything that I've said. So that is polarization, right? So my extremely leftist article will be well loved by those on the left, will be well hated by those on the right. And because people now love to share their opinions, unsolicited opinions about everything, they will let you know whether they love you and your work or they hate you and your work, right? So that is using polarization as a content driver. And polarization gives you the kind of engagement that descriptive and expository writing style could not even dream about, right? So if your main aim and motto in life is clicks and engagement and all of that, you better start mastering persuasive writing style and start using polarization as a content driver. I personally don't use it for myself. I do it only for one client because he specifically requests it. Otherwise, not my cup of tea, which is why it is the penultimate writing style of my choice. My least used writing rhetoric is narrative. Narrative writing style essentially tells a story. It's something that makes you go, oh, what happened then? Right? A writing that basically makes you curious about what comes next or what happened, etc., etc., etc. So to answer the question again, what is my preferred rhetoric? My preferred rhetoric is expository, descriptive. I sometimes use persuasive. I mostly don't use narrative because I'm not good at it. I am though trying to become good at it. It's a work in progress. So maybe someday I might use narrative more than persuasive, and my order becomes expository, descriptive, narrative, persuasive. But currently the order is I use expository the most, then descriptive, then persuasive, and lastly narrative. So I hope this answer was satisfactory. Thank you.